Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Bhairajikacharya Astatar Satshishi Shmali Hisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai. All glories to the Son of the devotees. Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What's the text on the board? 27? 28. Right. Yes. Alabda Trina Bhumi Adir Asamprapap. Okay. Asamprap. Gosh. Asamprapt Targya. Samprapta Sunrata Argya Avajnatam Argyatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopa Ha Alabdatrina Bhumya Adir Asampraptargya Sunrata Avajnatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha Alabdatrina Bhumya Adir Asampraptargya Sunrataha Avajnatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha Alabdatrina Bhumya Adir Asampraptargya Sunrataha Avajnatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha Alabdatrina Bhumya Adir Sampraptargya Sunritaha Vajatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha.
Alabdatrina Bhumyadir Asampraptargya Sunrita Avagyatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha.
Avagnatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chukopaha. Alabdatrina Bhumyadir Asampraptargya Sunrita Avajnatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas Chakopaha.
Alabdatrina bhumyadir asampraptarya sunritaha avagyatam ivatmanam manyamanas
Alabdatrinya bhumyadir asampraptaryasunritaha avagyanatamivatmanam manyamanas-chakopaha.
Alabdatrina bhumyadir asampraptarya sunritaha avagyatam ivatmanam manyamanas-chakopaha.
Alabdatrina bhumyadir asampraptarya sunrita avagyatam ivatmanam manyamanas-chakopaha.
Alabdatrina Bhumyadir Asampraptarya Sunritaha Avagyatam Ivatmanam Manyamanas-chakopaha.
Alabhadrana Bhumadir Asampraptiraha Sunrataha Avadnatnam Ivatmanam Manimanas-chakopaha.
Okay, word for word. Yelza. Alabda, having not received. Trina, seat or straw. Bhumi, place. Adi, and so on. Samprapta, not properly received. Argya, water for reception. Sunrita, sweet words. Avajñatam, thus being neglected. Eva, like that. Atmanam, personally. Manyamana, thinking like that. Chakopa, became angry. Ha, in that way. Translation. The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, a place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry. Purport. The law of reception in the codes of the Vedic principles states that even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respects. He should not be given a chance to understand that he has come into the house of an enemy. When Lord Krishna, accompanied by Arjuna and Bhima, approached Jarasandha and Magadha, the respectable enemies were given a royal reception by King Jarasandha. The great enemy the guest enemy, the guest enemy, namely Bhima, was to fight with Jarasandha. And yet they were given a grand reception. At night, they used to sit down together as friends and guests, and in the day they used to fight, risking life and death. That was the law of reception. The reception law enjoins that a poor man who has nothing to offer his guest should be good enough to offer a straw mat for sitting, a glass of water for drinking, and some sweet words. Therefore, to receive a guest, either friend or foe, there is no expense. It is only a question of good manners. When Maharaj Parikshit entered the door of Samika Rishi, he did not expect a royal reception by the Rishi because he knew that saints and rishis are not materially rich men. But he never expected that a seat of straw, a glass of water, and some sweet words would be denied him. He was not an ordinary guest, nor was he an enemy of the Rishi, and therefore the cold reception by the Rishi astonished the king greatly. As a matter of fact, the king was right to get angry with the Rishi when he needed a glass of water very badly. To become angry in such a grave situation was not unnatural for the king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, his becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by the supreme will of the Lord. The king was a great devotee of the Lord, and the saint was also as good as the king. But by the will of the Lord, the circumstances were so created that they became ways to the king's becoming unattached to family connection and governmental activities, and thus becoming a completely surrendered soul unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward positions for his pure devotees in order to drag them toward himself from the mire of material existence. But outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. Wait a minute. But outwardly, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotees. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord. In any condition, frustration or success, the Lord is the supreme guide for the devotees. The pure devotees therefore accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. Om Gyanatimarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Milidamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Stapitam Yendamutale Swayam Rupa Ganamayam Dadati Svavarandhigam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vedigaradhar Shiva Sadhguru Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The king, not received by any formal welcome, by means of being offered a seat, a place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry. So Prabhupada uses the example of how King Jarasandha, this person tried to kill Krishna many, many times with his hundreds and thousands and millions of soldiers. And when King Yudhisthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, somewhere around that time, they send out all the kings in the world are supposed to be, submissive to the emperor, the planet, and they have an opportunity to object. And Jarasandha was one person who doesn't want to accept King Yudhisthira as the emperor. So the Pandavas are wondering, well, how do we deal with this? And I think it was Uddhava, the great person, intelligent being, decided, maybe it wasn't Uddhava. But anyways, they decided that how should we deal with this? So they decided, rather than having more millions of deaths, we can just go personally fight Jarasandha. He is actually quite a character. Amazing personality in many regards. He was very devoted to the Brahmanas and very much inclined to respect Vedic principles and things of this nature. And we see that in the history of the world. I think with Caesar, he would go to different temples, and pay respects, because he knew that by doing this, you get power. So blessings. So Jarasandha and many of the great demons, they know to respect Brahmanas and things of this nature, and the rules, the Vedic rules of things. In fact, when the great demons were defeated by the demigods, so they decided to take over an insignificant planet and make it like a Death Star to take over the universe, and they chose Earth. And they're very intelligent in one regard. Of course, they're not really intelligent because they don't accept Krishna, subordination to Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they have some sense about things. They would appear, instead of like as humans and kill the sages, they would appear as tigers. And why would they appear as a tiger? To eat the sages. Because as a human, you get a bad reaction. They know this. But as a tiger, you're good to go. No reaction. Animals don't incur reactions to their sins. So Jarasandha knows that, was very, very devoted to the Brahmanas. So the Pandavas, Krishna, Bhima, and Arjuna decide to appear as Brahmanas. And since Jarasandha would not give the Brahmana what he asked for, they appeared as Brahmanas and requested a duel. So Jarasandha knew that quite a personality, amazing, what a real Kshatriya, saw that Arjuna and Bhima and Arjuna dressed as Brahmanas. So what's up with these guys? They have like bow marks, from holding bows on their shoulders. They're super strong and this and that. And he was okay, even if they're Kshatriyas, I will give them my head, if they request it. That's real Kshatriya valor. And sure enough, Arjuna reveals the situation, says, we would like to fight a duel with you. And Jarasandha says, oh, Krishna, you're not fit because you run away, you're a coward, you run away in battle, because he ran away once, not run away, wasn't cowardly, of course, but that one happened once. And Arjuna, you're not strong enough for me. Hare Krishna, Shishgurnitai, Kijai. So, you're younger and not strong enough. But Bhima is a reasonable combatant for me. So they fought, and they were extremely angry at each other, and they fought for many, many days. And at night, they would sit down as friends, and they would be fed wonderful foodstuffs and so forth and so on. Nice place to sleep, treated like guests should be treated. Here's the point that Prabhupada is making here, that guests should be treated extremely well, even if they're an enemy. So they would sit down as friends. They just tried to kill each other like anything with all their might. And then, I don't know, do they stop when the sun sets? That's what I've heard, but I don't know for sure. But let's just say the sun sets. Hey, come on over, have a mango smoothie here for you, this and that, and take some jokes or whatever, and then sunrise or whatever time it is, club, and they try to kill each other again for many days like this. So for the king who's hungry, and the king, to not get a good reception was unusual. The rishi perhaps was in trance or whatever. Krishna's arranging something is the point. And the other point in here is well, for that, is this king is a saintly king. It's like a saint. So for him to get angry at the sage is also unusual, because saints are supposed to be forgiving and all these other things. And so the focus I'd like to take this angle with is the conception of how do we deal with this tornado, peace, and itching, thing? It keeps coming up, right? Respect, giving all respect to others and not expect any respect for oneself. How do we do that? Otherwise, we're going to get angry when we think I deserve, and I don't get what I deserve. Then I'm going to get angry. It's as simple as that. And what my guru says, when you expect, consider that false pride. And we're used to, at least from my background, there's a certain ethical structure, at least my generation was raised with somewhat, and especially with my family. My dad was big on ethics. There's a certain expectation that people are supposed to deal with each other on a certain level. When that's not there, it's difficult to deal with. But the reality is, as Prabhupada says, this world is no place for a gentleman. You're just, if you've got expectations, you're going to be one miserable person in Kali Yuga, in 2022, definitely. Because people are not going to act the way you expect them to. And then especially when you become a soul surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, then Krishna is in every act, is the main theme within all interactions. Like somebody you've been your roommate for years, having a great time and great friendship, all of a sudden your roommate acts some strange way. Like, what the heck's going on? And then something else happens. Well, we should remember there's Krishna factor coming into play here. And don't get mad at the person, because maybe Krishna is setting something up, and Krishna wants to purify our hearts. So many anarthas cleared out, so many arrangements being set up by Krishna, personally setting up, so that we can clear our heart and go back home to Godhead. Prabhupada makes it really clear that you can only go back home to Godhead if you're humble. So that's one of the 6 symptoms of a surrendered soul. One is that he's always meek and humble. So in this regard, has anybody heard the mantra that I share regarding this? No? Okay. So I beg Dhanavir Goswami Maharaj not to chant this mantra, but Prabhupada, at the time of an initiation, with 2 of his sannyas initiation, his best men, he gave them, in essence, this mantra. So we have the Hare Krishna mantra, and we have the main theme of always remember Krishna, never forget him. But Prabhupada gave this secret bit of advice, and I'm going to share this mantra with you if you'd like to repeat it. Prabhupada said, never forget it. If you want, but I asked Dhanavir Maharaj not to participate, that's okay. If you'd like to try out this mantra, feel free. You'll see it becomes self-evident after chanting it just 5 times. If you'd like. It goes, Owa. Anybody want to chant it? Owa. Tagu. No. Owa. Tafu. Lion. Owa. Tafu. Lion. I'm going to chant 3 times, a little quicker. Owa. Tafu. Lion. Oh, what a fool I am. Oh, what a fool I am. There, see, it becomes self-evident. So, Prabhupada says, now you become these big people, don't remember one thing, that you are fool number 1. Because you've left the spiritual world and come here. So especially in front of the Guru, Prabhupada states that we should always consider ourselves a fool in front of our Guru. Otherwise, how are we going to learn anything? When we think we're better, when we think we're this or that, we miss out on the mercy. And so this is an important thing to remember. Now, Prabhupada didn't give that exact mantra, so just to be clear, but that's the essence of it. So remembering that we're full, number one. Number one is not a number. We're not even number two full. We're number one full. Okay. Then in this circumstance, we can receive the mercy of the Lord, and we can be humble, and meek and humble. And this way, we don't have to go through this committing aparadhs program and delaying our spiritual life and so many other things, and getting angry. Anger is such a one of the enemies of the heart. This way we can always make nice progress. As Lord Chaitanya said, if you follow that Shikshastika verse 3, what is it? Be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and be willing to give all respect to others, and not expect any for oneself. Then he says, in the CC it's stated that one can always and easily chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Always and easily. Does everybody have a tough time sometimes chanting? I'll speak for myself. Okay, you should remember, Tanadapi Sinachena. Let me focus on this. And then we can always, it states right there, always and easily, Lord Chaitanya saying, chant it by following that. So, important thing to remember that we are, I'll speak for myself, that I am full number one. And remember that way we won't get upset with other people. We don't have these expectations. We can have expectations for ourselves, our own expectations. But if somebody's not meeting up to some expectations we might have, we should think, rather than getting upset at the situation, let me get rid of my expectations for such a person, and let me just work on it myself. And consider maybe this is just Krishna's arrangement. Now, managers have, some responsibilities in this regard, but, dealing with on a normal level, then, applying that. Oh, wow. Time is gone. Any comments or questions? Yes, Mark.
Yeah, that verse, Trinadapi Sunichena, Svarapi Sahishna, Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sarahari. Verse you discussed. Thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. The word Trina is also used in this verse. It's straw mat. So, this is why preaching is recommended. Because if someone goes out to preach, then he may not be respected. He may get some disrespect, but he's not supposed to get angry. He learns to tolerate it. And that's why they're called beggars. Begging is not easy, because when one comes as a beggar, then he may be disrespected. There's a classic example of one sannyasi, saintly person, who went begging door to door. And the sannyasis had their cloth, the cloth, and so he would, it's still done. The beggar says, if you'd like to give some alms, very much, when they go to the door of the house, they ask, can you give some alms? And then people usually give some donation because they respect the culture. But in this particular case, the man who came to the door of his house was not so friendly, but he appeared to be friendly. And so the person put out his cloth. He said, yes, just wait here, I have some alms for you. He came, he went and took a shovel and filled it up with ashes. And the person in his cloth, he dumped it right on his cloth. And the person, the beggar, thank you very much. And why are you thanking me? I'm obviously disrespecting you. He said, no, you've begun. This is the beginning. By making that offering, I'm representing God. So you made an offering to God. It wasn't necessarily the most loving offering, but you've made some beginnings. So I'm pleased you've begun your devotional life. And the man was impressed. So that's what the preacher learns. How to not be. I remember one time I was chanting on the street where we were having a kirtan, and a bus came out. This was England. The bus came by, and someone had a big container of beer. So as they drove by, I got completely washed in beer. And it was quite humbling. So this is the type of thing that one can expect when he goes out and begs. But he shouldn't get angry. He should take it that this is part of it. I'm not going here to be respected. And some people may not appreciate what I'm doing. But he does it as it's part of his training to learn how to become humble. When one goes out, especially if you go to some doors, they say, no soliciting allowed, no trespassing, dogs, everything, to discourage anyone from coming there. And then if one goes there and he gets disrespected. So that disrespect and not becoming angry with it is part of the spiritual advancement. And everyone needs to learn this. And that's why trying to increase one's position in society with titles and degrees and other signs of advancement, beautiful car, good clothes, all these things are actually impediments on making spiritual advancement. One Queen Kunti, she prayed that when one is enamored by high birth in a Janma Ishvarya Shruti Shibir. Janma means birth. One is proud of his family he's been born in, or the nation he's been born in, or whatever, some kind of thing that one becomes proud of their birth. Janma Aishvarya. Aishvarya means wealth. If one is proud of their wealth, either their personal wealth, their family wealth, or national wealth, some kind of wealth. Janma Aishvarya Shruta. Shruta means learning. If one is proud of his learning in any field, if he is distinguished by some titles or degrees, one becomes proud. Janma Aishvarya Shruta Shri. Shri means beauty. One is proud of their beauty. In any aspect, bodily beauty or live in a beautiful place, somehow they're proud of their beauty, then Janmaishvarya Shruta Shibir Edamanamadakpaman. And he's becoming more and more proud of these things. He's trying to increase them. He cannot approach the Lord. Because when one is proud of these things, they will block his way towards humbling himself before the Lord. Because the Lord doesn't accept someone who is humble to him. He says, I don't accept, one who claims to be my devotee, I don't accept him. But one who claims to be the devotee of my devotee, I accept him as my devotee. So we have to become the servant of the servant. That's why accepting the spiritual master is required before one can approach Krishna. One cannot approach God directly and think, I'll be very humble to God. And Krishna showed the example, even when he appeared as being a Kshatriya. They all took services when they would have a big celebration, a big sacrifice, and people would be invited from all over the world. And when they came, all the royalty who was holding the ceremony, they would have different services. And Krishna took the service of washing the feet of all the guests. That shows his humility. And of course, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came as a sannyasi. In other words, the Supreme Lord generally, when he incarnates in a royal family or a Brahmin family, usually a king, but like Lord Ramachandra and Prithu Maharaj, there are so many examples of great king incarnations. But Lord Chaitanya appeared as a sannyasi, and he really demonstrated the perfection of sannyas. And when he went to visit a temple, there were other sannyasis there. He wouldn't sit with the other sannyasis because they were Mayavadis, but he sat by where the foot wash. They would wash their feet before entering the temple, that's the custom. And he would sit down there. And in other words, he took a very humble position. And this is, as you said, the third verse. He only wrote down 8 verses. There's no record of him writing down more than 8 verses. And the third one was this Srinadapi, this verse, thinking oneself more humble than the strongest tree. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami recommends that one string this verse around his neck as a garland and always wear this, thinking oneself lower than the strongest tree, not expecting any. So we should cultivate that in all circumstances. What if I'm not respected? What if I'm going to give a class and I'm not respected? What if I'm in a store and someone, steps in front of me or steps on my body, steps on my foot? We have a tendency to become upset. But we're not supposed to. This is really pleasing Krishna when one is humble. Humble and meek shall inherit, I think in the Bible, inherit the kingdom of God. That's also Vedic. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments or questions? Yeah. Time? Go ahead. If you like. Okay. We can discuss more during Prasadam today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.